Welcome to what is the second series of The Power of J-Skull. And of course, I'm here, Jason, and a better mother than sorceress, Jason, also joins me. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. You know, the hamster that I used to have as a child that ate its own children was a better mother than the sorceress.
And yeah, that's the thing about hamsters. They teach kids a really weird thing about life and death.
Yes. Don't trust your mom. She will eat you. And don't trust the sorceress. She don't trust the sorceress. She will drop you off with a stranger and then erase everybody's memories. Because I don't know. She was supposed to be a hero, but everything she did was so ethically dark.
Yes, and you have raised what is the new start of the second series. Jason, I'll let you explain that we're doing character deep dives.
Yes, indeed we are. We are just picking a character and we're doing seminal episodes around that character. This week we are looking at the origins of Teela. Is her full name Teela of Arms, or is she just Teela, like Madonna or something like that?
I always thought she was a singular kind of Teela, like her first name's that strong, it doesn't need a second one.
I don't know if anybody on Eternia has a last name. It's just so strange. Yeah. Well, Skeletor Jones.
Hey, what about the king? What's his last name? King Randor?
Randor. But what's his first name? Yeah, his name is Randor. I guess Marlena would have a first name because this is the first episode we really dealt with knowing that she's from Earth originally.
Right. What about Evil Lynn? Is Lynn the bad name for evil? Or is that a kind of like a Mary Lynn?
I don't know. I'm thinking, Betty Lynn, Jessie Lynn. Was she from the mountains of Eternia? Jessie Lynn, get yourself in here and quit messing around with that sorcery. I'm gonna show you one day, Paul.
Well, you've chosen, because this is part of your job, is you're educating me on all things He-Man, and this is what the series is really about, is me falling back in love with the franchise I adored so much as a kid. And you've chosen Teela, and you've chosen 2 episodes, one from the Filmation series, from the first year, and then we've chosen 2002 as 2 episodes you wanted to touch on with Teela. And they're very different episodes in tone and style.
Yes, they are. Even though they deal with pretty much the same thing, they are totally different and
very.
Yes, may have a very surprising opinion. I think both of us have a very surprising opinion this time around.
I think so. Can I? And I think just as a tease, I'm just going to share this because I think in a way this will kind of give away what I think is inherently wrong with one of these episodes. So here's the first episode, Teela's Quest, up here, right? And there's a synopsis for it. This is from Wikipedia. Very simple synopsis. And it's basically talking about Teela searching for a real mother. She's captured by Merman, and only He-Man and Battle Cat can rescue her for becoming a sacrifice for a legendary sea monster. Legendary? That's debatable. Teela tells viewers caring, adoptive, and we'll get into that a bit more. But that's that synopsis.
Yes.
Let's have a look at the 2002 version, Ties That Binds. I'm not reading that out. That is an over-explanation.
During a fight at the evil warrior's castle Grayskull, Teela is heavily injured and receives an emergency blood transfusion from the sorceress.
Yeah.
Yada.
And we won't keep going on about it, but I think it's a good example. When you need to over-explain something,
yes,
there's usually an inherent problem with the show itself. Simple explanation, if you could sum it up, it's right. And I suppose that's giving away what I feel of it. And I do feel there is, surprising differences here. But let's get into the first one. And I think one's worth is Teela's Quest. The second episode broadcast for the Filmation series. And that struck me, Jason, because this is quite a profound episode. And a very strong, strong episode.
And it dealt with something that, like, children's television just did not deal with back then. And that was, an adopted child desperately trying to find out where they came from. Usually whenever somebody was adopted, it was, Superman was adopted. And I'm sure there are other examples that I can't think of at the moment,
Yeah,
but
of
they
course.
they were just happy to be where they were. But Teela had a longing to find out where she came from, and it's good drama. It's very
It is
simple
great
drama.
drama. And it is simple and it's to the point. And that's why this episode works in many ways as we'll go through. I think one of the big surprises, really, the opening was finding out that the Queen essentially was an astronaut from Earth.
Yes, yes,
It
and
was
I
on
enjoyed
a
that as a
cool looking
kid.
ship, mind you. Did they ever release
Yes,
that ship? Because I want that.
I don't
Um,
know if they ever did, to be honest.
no.
I wish
So
they would.
that was a big surprise. And how do they know that? That was obviously from the Queen and her son Adam hanging out and using that special thing on her head to be
Yes,
able to project her thoughts, which
Man
is
at Arms random invention of the week.
yeah, and like that dude. I mean, like I hope their patent program is quick and efficient because that guy had more patents on on things that he's created than any single human ever created. But I did like that because we got to see like, okay, the Queen's from Earth. That
Yeah,
helps ground things a little bit. We now get to see that Adam, in many ways, who displays very human characteristics, and even as He-Man. Well, that's naturally because he's half from Earth.
yeah. I like this as a kid because it meant that as a kid thinking that Eternia was out there somewhere. It acknowledges Earth exists, and uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just something exciting about the idea that
Yes.
He-Man and Skeletor and Orko and Man at Arms and Teela and Beastman and everybody was out there in the universe somewhere having these
There's a
adventures.
possibility that you could go there one day.
Exactly.
That's as a kid.
Maybe one day I'll find a crater in the backyard. There'll be my own sword in it. And I'll pick
Yes.
it up, and the sorcerer will be like, "Guess what? I did some highly unethical
Absolutely.
stuff, and now you're gonna be the He-Man of Earth. No, you will be He-Boy.
And
Yay!"
then your poor dog sees you pick up that sword, like, nope, I'm out. I am not being turned into
I had
giant
a
dog every
I
time.
had a Pekingese at the time, and yeah, he would have been the most fierce companion of all time.
What
Ditto.
else? I kind of want to break down. I think the best way to approach this is kind of break down like the episode bit by bit as we go through with some images and talk about some of the key moments, especially with this first one, because I think it's so solid. Yes, we get that moment, and a nice moment between mother and son as they kind of look back at the past and all that kind of thing. But I think what really works there is Teela coming in next, and she coming in and going, where were you, dude? And which a moment I thought was awesome. She waxed that thing on his head, and we get to see what he's been doing all morning,
Yeah.
which I love. And I'll tell you what I love because I can imagine for Teal it is the most infuriating thing. But we know
She
it's like,
yeah.
hey man, this guy's a protector of Grayskull. He basically saves everybody's backside all the time. If he needs to have a nap while he's fishing for a couple hours a day, we're all good with it.
Yeah,
But I
I don't know. I would love to see He-Man, not He-Man, Adam just go off on her one day. Just like, look, I lift this sword in the air, I lose 3/4 of my clothes, and then I save the universe from a skeleton. I deserve a nap.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um, but obviously straight after that, she grabs that piece, puts it on her head, and we obviously get to see her only real memories are of being dealt with by Man at Arms. Wow, that's odd. Little bare bottom to be
Yeah, well,
displayed on children's
I,
television. There you
Eternia can produce things that read your mind and project it like a TV screen, but apparently diapers are beyond them.
go. Yeah.
Either that or Man
Which
at Arms, being the single dad is just like, well, if I just let her fly free, I never have to change one of these things. Just hose her off in the sink.
No. Now we get to Look, it's been a while since we watched the first episode, the Diamond Rave disappearance. But was there heavily implicated in that episode? And I think it was the whole dynamic between Man at Arms and Orko, that kind of interplay. It was pretty well established from the first episode, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man at
And we
Arms
get to
hates
see that
Orko.
more. Yeah, we get to see that more where Orko is designing what is that chest supposed to be? It's an upgrade of something. What's it
It's a
supposed to be?
music
A
box is
music
what it's supposed to
box?
be, yeah, and he
Yeah,
builds it
yeah,
out
yeah.
of bomb parts,
Out of
which is
bomb
such an
parts.
Orko thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Man-at-Arms'
You can
face
see
right
with
there
Man,
says it all.
his
Like,
expression is, "What is
this thing is going to
doing?"
kill us all. I have to kill it first.
But from all that, that's really the segue for Teela to come and approach Man at Arms in a very uncomfortable scene in some ways, where she's basically going to Man at Arms and asking about, wants to find out about her past,
Mm-hmm.
and disturbingly so for me personally, Man at Arms kind of dangles it in front of her face by saying, like, "Hey man, I know the deal, but I'm not telling you nothing. I've swore an oath to say nothing."
Yeah, it's a difficult
That's a
position to be put in.
man. Yeah. But, they have ethics and morals and certain things that they want to adhere to in, I suppose, their universe. But, I mean, I couldn't think of anything more horrible to say to an adopted child. Is like, "Hey, I know who your mum is. I ain't telling you nothing."
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been easier just to go, nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I found you in a crash spaceship. It's
Yeah.
fine. Don't worry about it.
Now, I would just like to also, in the second episode, just Skeletor's ability to have cameras everywhere over Eternia is stunning to me.
Okay.
Like, he has the best surveillance system ever created.
Man-at-Arms has memory helmets. Skeletor has cameras everywhere.
Everywhere.
Personally, I don't see the issue.
Well, he sees her on the coolest vehicle I ever owned as a kid.
Oh, I know. Oh, here we go. Here.
Well, where is it?
Right
Isn't
there.
it a thing of beauty? It just takes me back, straight back to
love the
1983.
Wind Raider so much.
Yeah.
I actually have the remains of my 80s Wind Raider at my parents' house right now, and it's in a sad state. I was so happy to see Walmart had these on sale for like $6.
Oh, my original one, I ended up, last time I think I saw it was in the late 80s, and there were no wings on it.
No wings, no tail.
Stickers have been half peeled off. Like,
why did we do that? What was wrong with us?
I don't know. Oh, destructive kids of the 80s.
I know.
But
we should have.
Back to Skeletor going, yeah, what's she up to? Kind of deal. Quickly turns into, mind you, I've looked at all the iterations of Skeletor. But when I see a shot like that of Skeletor, I go, damn, that was a good design.
It really was.
It really was. It's a thing of beauty. But Merman's listening in, because how could you not with giant ears like that? And he sees an opportunity for revenge. What was the revenge part for?
Man-at-Arms had prevented him from sacrificing something to a sea creature many years ago. And Merman is almost out of character in this episode, because in the early episodes, the evil masters truly were evil, and Merman is just evil, and he's brave, and he demands things from Skeletor, and he's so much fun in this episode. You're just looking at him like, oh, you complete jackass.
He's a real 100% jerk in this.
Yes, he is, but it works. It works.
And so eventually, we'll skip forward a little bit. She she's going to go to, and I missed that bit, her destination in Please Jason filming. Where is she going to? What's the name?
She's going to go see the Oracle.
Yes,
because
the Oracle.
The Oracle knows all, sees all, and has He-Man's voice, just whispering. It's like,
and was
I'm totally not a
before.
I'm totally not He-Man. I'm a completely different actor. Of course you are, Mr.
Yeah, there
Irwin.
was that fun bit when they're talking to each other. There was that fun little bit. I did pick up on that. He's just a bit more quieter, isn't he?
Yes.
But this heavily implied that, hey man, don't go there. It's a dangerous place.
Yes, the shadow beasts.
There's a lot, the shadow beasts and all that. Which Teela, the first thing she comes across is, in fact,
a shadow beast. Yeah.
Not just one, but a whole gaggle of shadow beasts. That's
you ever noticed those things are the same? They're the Mugatu from Star Trek. They're just brown.
Yeah, kind of a bit.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't really think of that, but you
And
are pretty well
did the
dead on.
Mugatu ever show up on the animated Star Trek series? Because it seems like to me they're using the same design if they did.
You know what? Probably has, because we know Filmation is, as all animation studios were, but they were infamous for
Yes, they were.
reusing absolutely every frame, reusing every frame of animation they could.
Absolutely.
And you don't blame them, because look how much, what was it, 65 episodes in their first year?
Oh yeah, they churned them out. They were a factory.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's a nice little scene where they're having that kind of battle, I thought. And it's good, and quickly enough, which is a little bit disappointing for me, because I would have liked to have seen her go a bit more forward. She does get captured, but not before talking to, I believe, the Oracle.
Yes.
Yeah. And here he is there. And the dude, honestly, is the nicest Oracle ever. He didn't muck around. He wasn't speaking in riddles. He was just putting it out there.
They didn't have the time for it with a 22-minute runtime.
No.
I'm going to tell you very quickly, because we have toys to sell during the commercial break. Chop, chop, Teela.
Yes.
Your mother is, oh no, it's Merman.
Merman
is my mother?
But she obviously gets captured.
Yes.
By Merman and his crew. What are those lizard things called? They're not
I don't know, but speaking of reused assets, did you notice that the noise that that Merman's henchmen made whenever they were thrown or hit is the same noise that Tribbles made?
No.
It's the same exact noise, because I heard that. I was like, where have I heard that before? That's the Tribble noise when they were upset. That
which they would have taken from
Star Trek the Animated Series. Yes.
Fascinating stuff.
Yes.
But meantime, while she's captured, we know that Adam has turned into He-Man, and him and Battle Cat are on the way to
somebody saw Clash of the Titans. That's all I'm saying.
And he comes back and quickly makes mincemeat out of it.
He beats up Merman's sea. He beats up Merman's what do you call the sea monkeys? There we go. He beats them up.
The sea monkeys. But the whole idea of this, of course, is that he's going to sacrifice her to that sea beast.
Yes.
That's the whole plan, right? That's
which is ironic, because we learn later that Teela, as a baby, was the sacrifice that Man-at-Arms, managed to save. And so unknowingly, Merman was giving the exact same sacrifice that he was going to give, 20 years later?
Yeah. What I'm missing here is the images of Teela as a baby actually up in a nest.
Yes.
In a bird's nest, being protected by the sorceress. And that was a great little scene, actually, because Man-at-Arms had those cool little darts, which I loved. He threw this dart in the air, and it landed on top of the cliff, remember? And then it just, it's ate its way through the ground, and then they fell down.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Merman doing this.
Yeah.
Which is probably the most reused animation in the episode, is this. Which I love. But I really want to kind of push forward, because there are a couple of really profound moments coming up in this episode. Really profound. And the first one being that He-Man actually saves Merman from certain death by the giant beast.
Yes. He is such a wholesome character.
Unbelievably so, right?
Yes.
Unbelievably so. So He-Man saves him, and we come across this scene here. And Jason, we actually spoke about this in the chat. And it was unbelievable. Teela turns around to He-Man and goes, "Why did you save him?" What's his response, Jason?
He says, "Any life is worth saving, even an evil life." And that says so much. It says to me this show was so beyond, punching and vengeance and everything. It was, He-Man was truly a good soul. And I mean, come on, he could have rid himself of Skeletor at any time. I mean, even Skeletor, whenever he gets He-Man's powers later, mentions, you could have killed me anytime you wanted to. And he could have. He just chose not to.
Because that's not the morals and ethics that He-Man has.
Exactly.
And it just informs the character so much with that little line of dialogue. Just so much. it was probably the favorite line when you mentioned it. I was like, I think that's the favorite line so far I've heard from him, man, because it just encapsulates what he stands for and who he is so much, you know.
And some people may see it as preachy and corny. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Look, at the end of the day, you know, I understand in modern storytelling, you can have more complex storylines and characters with more facets to them and faults and that. But I do believe when you were targeting your demographic of the early 80s child, which is a different child from what today's children are, I think simplistic storytelling and effective to the point storytelling is the only way you could do it. And it's proven right because even all these years later, watching this episode, this is a well-made, efficient episode.
It
Simple
is.
storytelling, excellent messaging, and one of the great, really profound kind of messages at the end of this episode, which we're leaving.
Yes, it is.
Which is it's incredible. And what's funny enough, before we get into the next episode, take note, guys, of how wildly different approaches they go to this subject around Teela's origins. I thought the message at the end of it was really good. And really what it comes down to is this moment here where she's talking about adopted parents. That where she turns around and goes, well, you don't, the parents you have are the people that raise you and love you and care for you. And which is such a bold thing to say to kids that, hey, at home, mum and dad may not be the mum and dad that birthed you, but they're still most important to you than anything, than anything. They're your parents. And I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was wonderful. And I know you do too.
I mentioned something about it, and I said, "Oh, if you tell anybody I said this, I will deny." Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I am a dad of 4 adopted kids, and I texted you a few days ago and said I just was moved to tears by this stupid episode. When Teela gets up there and gives the lesson about adoptive parents, I legitimately started tearing up. Because, and this is the first time I've seen this episode in years, at least, the first time since I became a dad. And so it really, hit me right there in the cold, shriveled thing that is supposed to be my heart. And so, this episode is personally important to me. And I really enjoy it.
It was so honest in its execution that I think even me, I'm a father too. But even me, guys, thought that was so beautifully done, and so done in like an honest, truthful. I don't want to say matter of fact way, but a direct way. That it was. I don't know if they would do that in this day and age.
Well, I think we saw that they didn't do it.
No, and you know what? Let's kind of blow straight to the end of that, and I think this episode to me, amazing. This has got to be one of the top of the tree episodes for this.
Absolutely.
Series,
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And this show had some really good, deep episodes. I'm not even going to say for, 80s toy ad. It had some good episodes, period. Even today they hold up. And to me, in some cases, they get better, as the years go on.
And this is one of those episodes.
Absolutely. It is. It is.
I think it's like if I was, teaching a writing class or something like that, you want to get into television. I think this is an excellent episode for someone learning how to write television because there's no fat on the bones of this episode. Everything leads to something else. It's very efficient, very direct storytelling. And I think we get caught up in this thing of everything's got to be complex and kind of different. Now, sometimes you can just tell a story, tell it simply, and it resonates so powerfully, as I believe this episode did. So I was thrilled to be able to go back and revisit it. Now, the next episode we had to look at was Ties That Bind from the 2002 Masters of the Universe reboot relook at.
Yes. And in a sense, a remake of this episode.
It is a remake. And it is a remake. And it works very differently as an episode. And like I said, we're going to jump right to the end of this episode because we want to compare the last messaging to this messaging. Now, this point here is where Man-at-Arms is going to give his moral lesson of the day. And his moral lesson I found rather interesting and potentially problematic. Because what he was saying was that parents sometimes have to do things um, that mean, they can't be with you. You're basically implying like your parents are the ones who love you the most, who look after you the most, and sometimes you don't realize how much sacrifice they have to make. And I think that's a problematic message because you're implying to me that, if a parent, we will know there are people can have kids doesn't mean they're great parents. A lot
Oh,
of
no.
awful parents out there. So
Yeah.
basically implying that if your dad leaves home and runs away, or your mum's not looking after you properly, or that, but they still love you, they've got your best interests at heart. And I find that problematic because we know in reality that's not the truth, and certainly wasn't the truth when I was a kid. And I could guarantee wasn't the truth for a lot of kids today and in 2002.
No,
So
some parents are garbage. I mean,
garbage.
that's
And
that's why
here's
that's why I have 4 kids of my own right now, is because other parents were
exactly,
garbage.
exactly. So in many ways, I know that's not what they were trying to do, but I did not like the message at the end of this episode compared to what we had seen in Teela's quest. And
Teela's
in
quest,
fact,
yeah,
yeah, go on.
I was going to say Teela's message was so heartfelt. It almost felt like the voice actress was just saying it, just off the cuff, just whatever came to her heart, she was saying it. And Man at Arms in this episode, it almost felt like he was obligated to say it. Like, well, I have to say this. Here we go. Don't put
Mm,
mustard on the cat.
yeah, and I think that's the biggest difference I'm finding already with this 2002 show is like, oh, you thought you just had to add that in because that's what was in the last series. You didn't really think about the power and importance of that segment.
Yes.
That's what I'm feeling at the moment.
It almost
And
felt like we're going to do this to be cute and nostalgic.
yeah.
And that's really all it was.
Now, Jason, I'm going to need your help here because I don't know. Maybe I was just wholly and solely biased. I didn't love this episode. I didn't think this was amazing. So
To me,
talk me through it.
to me, this episode was overstuffed with so many things that ultimately didn't matter. We did not need the whole subplot of Teela becoming telepathic. We could have done without that at all. Um, yeah, have the sorceress give her blood, or have the sorceress cast a spell on her to make her better. Teela glances at the sorceress and feels something like, who was that woman? Why do I feel like, she's important? And then have her undergo a Teela's quest to find out who the sorceress is. Now, I did think it was good that they revealed early in the episode that the sorceress was Teela's mother, because everybody watching the show at that point knew. So it's like, yeah, don't surprise us later with
Bury the
something we
lead
already
on that
know.
one. Yeah.
But I don't know. To me, it was overstuffed, and I think that the stuff that they put in there to take up time and to make the episode different did not make the episode better. It actually worked to its detriment to me. And there was just very little heart to this episode. It seemed more like it was an inconvenience to Teela more than anything else.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and Teela,
how she got her telepathic powers is a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I'll go with that.
Sure.
We are in
Why not?
I'll go with that. Yeah, I don't go with 3 scenes of her going, you're thinking this, you're thinking this, and you're thinking this.
And
she
was mean. She was mean when she did that, because she was like calling out all their insecurities right there in front of everybody.
Yeah, and you wish you had a better power set. Like, holy moly! Like,
yeah, it's like, dude, get off Mechanek's neck.
Get off his neck.
Yeah, it's like I was just went. Yeah, you wish you had better powers, Mechaneck. Well, I wish you was a little bit less of a hussy.
And as we know, Jason, I haven't seen all of these episodes, so I ask you this right now: is that out of character for Teela in this series, or is Teela maybe not the nicest person in the world in the 2002 series?
The 2002 series suffered from Disney Channel syndrome, and that is where a young character is a jerk for comedy's sake. Now, as I remember, it got better. I think in the early episodes, it was, haha, look at what a jerk Teela is. Isn't that funny? But they toned it down a bit as it went on. But Yeah, she's brash in this episode.
Well, the thing is, I think they misconstrued who she was in the first series because
I
it
think they
feels
did
like
too.
they've taken simple elements of her being angry and disappointed at Adam in a lot of episodes to her being mean. Because the difference you've got to understand from Teela's perspective in the Filmation series, Adam is the laziest sod. He doesn't ever want to do anything. He doesn't take responsibility serious. So of course she's going to be upset because what she does is important to her. So that's appropriate for the character. But yeah, her meanness in this just did not feel like it was driving the plot forward. What big plot there was in this episode. Yeah, I've really rubbed me up the wrong way, of course.
Yeah, she was me. I don't know. The Filmation Teela was professional and no nonsense. She had a job, and you guys need to let her do her job. Adam, quit screwing around to let me do my job. This one was just mean. She was just mean to people.
Now, I did like Evil Lynn in this episode planting the thought in Teela's head.
Yes.
Like setting a trap. I thought that was very good use of Evil Lynn's powers to set
Evil
that
Lynn
trap.
was Evil Lynn's character was like upgraded so much in the new series.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in 2002 one.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was very good. And I have this.
Evil Lynn levels up with every single spinoff.
She does. You know how much I
really
loved her in Revelation. I love that character.
Well, even in the CGI reboot, she's such a fun character. She's got such a witty, sick sense of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. But it turns out there's a big battle in the desert with this. And the fact that she's been knocked out, she gets this implant that they're going to be attack on Grayskull, and she's all not quite with it. But mate, she's up. She's running down the hallways. They're going to be attack on Grayskull. We're going to go. Just everything about Teela in this episode, as I'm getting that, it really just felt. I just don't think they understood what they were dealing with here.
No, and on the whole, quite honestly, the 2002 reboot is a great show. It is. Yeah. It's just they dropped the ball a couple of times, and
this is one of them.
I think early on, Teela's character was one of them because they confused driven with mean, and unfortunately, men do that sometimes.
Now, I didn't like Skeletor's getaway. Really did not like that at all. The Cole, it looks like he's going to get defeated and just a cart turns up and boom, he's out.
Yeah, that was
like, I was kind of, okay, I get it. You've got to get away each time, and I'm down with that. In fact, I want that because I want Skeletor in the next episode. But guys, that seems really lazy at this point. And then a magical cart turns up and he's gone. Insane. Like,
I have to go. My home planet needs me.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got to say, this episode did reinforce how, like, in some ways to me, even though I don't like how they handled her character, it does reinforce to me that Teela is so important to this series. And any fan who knew that leading up to Revelation, I'm going to bring it up, Revelations. If you had a massive problem with Teela being the core element in those early episodes, I don't think you really ever understood Master Universe.
No, either that or you're just a big dumb incel.
Yeah, and you're really probably right. It's a big dumb
probably the same thing. People who are just like, what do you mean She-Ra? They're making He-Man a girl now? That bad.
Exactly. But she is she not? If she's not, if He-Man's the muscle and the brawn, she's the heart in many ways.
Yes.
Man-at-Arms is the technological brain. You've got all elements. And I think for her, she's also a way for us as the audience to help make sense of what goes on sometimes. Because she seems so down to earth and always onto it, I always feels like she should be higher in her life than she is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's almost always smartest person in the room, I feel. Which is great.
See Teela as the Lois Lane of He-Man. Not really in a romantic sense, but Lois Lane's very no-nonsense. She's very intelligent. Sometimes gets herself into a little bit of trouble because she exerts herself beyond her means. But at the end of the day, if Lois Lane said she had my back, I'd trust her. And it's the same thing with Teela.
100%. Now, I also think moving forward, this episode's a character deep dive in Teela. There are more episodes as we go forward. In fact, like I've just kind of mentioned, we could probably mention and talk about the whole series of Revelations again, just from
We could, yeah.
Teela's perspective. But I do believe, Jason, each week moving forward now, we're going to be going into characters and look at someone, like you said earlier in the episode. We're going to look at some highlights.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who do we have next?
Okay, this is going to be kind of a strange choice because I thought that he was treated very meanly in this episode, and so I think that we need to deep dive into one of the most underappreciated power sets in He-Man history. So we're going to be looking at an episode, and I don't remember the name of the episode from the Filmation series.
Yep,
one from the Filmation series and one from the 2002 series. Again, we're going to be looking at Mechaneck.
Well, we definitely got a snippet of one of your peers, what they thought of Mechaneck in this episode, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So that's a very interesting choice. So I look forward to that. And obviously we'll find out what episodes they are. You guys will obviously
the 2002 episode is called Mechaneck's Lament. And then there's an origin episode in the Filmation series. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it's called.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
He did not make that many appearances in the Filmation series.
No, he doesn't. In fact, when you said it, I'm like, can't quite remember which episodes he was in.
Yes, he's in a couple, but the one that he's in actually goes to kind of a dark place.
Right.
For a show made in 1983.
Wow.
Pretty dark place.
Is this kind of later in the series of the Filmation, or is this early on?
I want to say it's early on, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. We've kind of touched on Teela, and I've with a lot of confidence say, Jason, that we will return to Teela.
Absolutely. You have to.
Because there's so much to talk about.
If I have one complaint about the Filmation series installment of Teela's Quest, it's that her relationship with the sorceress is never brought up again. After this episode, nothing's ever mentioned about it. Okay. It never goes anywhere. They just go on their merry way. And
we left a big hole by not addressing that in both episodes about how they leave it go. Now, yes. I do say in the Ties That Bind, I felt very much the emotional pain of sorceress.
Yes.
Like, to me, that was probably the best part of that whole episode.
Yes.
Was the way that I felt with sorceress what she was going through. That she understood the sacrifice was tearing her apart.
Yes. No, that was one way it was superior, because the Filmation sorceress kind of sucked.
It was kind of like, that's the way it is.
I was your mother and I had to give you up. Okay, bye.
Yeah, not exactly inviting to come around for dinner or trying to connect in any way. No, that was kind of left. That was probably.
I'm going to erase your memory. Boop. Get out of my castle.
It was Men in Black, wasn't it? It was. I was waiting for the thing to come up.
I swear, there's probably like this gigantic swath of Eternia who has undiagnosed or this weird brain damage from the sorcerer continually erasing their memories. Every time she messes up, I'm sure she went outside on the castle turret to give a speech one time. It's like, ladies and gentlemen of Grayskull, I'll be right back. Erase everyone's memories. Ladies and gentlemen of Grayskull, what's wrong with Daddy? He's drooling and looking off in his face. Fart.
And the other peasant going, she's so classy. Yeah, she's so perfect.
Look at those feathers. She's the only one who can pull that off.
That's it. Well, guys, we could spend hours talking about Teela's Quest and Ties That Binds, but again, if you haven't, and I assume a lot of you guys may have not seen a lot of this stuff in years out there, Teela's Quest is, funnily enough, the second episode in the series. So for Filmation, it's a knockout 1-2 punch for me.
Absolutely.
Because Diamond Ray of Disappearance is a really good episode to me, because it dismisses the whole origin stuff, really, in a lot of ways. It just gets into it. And I think that was a perfect way to introduce his character to television. And this episode, the second episode they broadcast was, wow, as a kid, you may not have realized how profound it was. When you go back and watch it as we discussed as adults, it is very profound. And
you definitely see things different with adult eyes.
You definitely do. You absolutely do. So this was an absolute joy. Look forward to next week when we take a look at a couple of episodes starring Mechaneck.
Mechaneck.
Which
everybody out there watching this video are going, Mechaneck? Really? Why? There's reasons why.
Do you own the figure?
I do own the figure. I have the vintage figure.
Beautiful. Well, we'd like to see that in next week's show. We might make that a part of it. Each episode that we do based on a character, if you own the figure, we'll take a moment and have a look at some of these glorious vintage and figures.
I will, because I'm looking at Teela from across the room, my Masterverse figure of Teela.
She's going, well, I don't get a shot at this.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll bring her over next time.
And we're not interrupting the show as you kind of throw everything.
No.
We see clothes flying in the air as you're trying to get it.
Dog screaming. Get out of my way.
Well, guys, thanks for watching again. Thanks for coming back and joining us for series 2 of this. To me, I fell in love with Master Universe again. So, I think we're going to pick at this carcass as long as we possibly can. In regards to He-Man.
That's a big, juicy carcass. So
yeah, it is. There's a lot to do. Think of the beginning of Obi-Wan Kenobi when they're cutting slices off that giant.
The land whale, yes.
Yeah, the land whale.
Gross.
We've got a land whale ahead of us.
All the meat on Tatooine, it probably smells like, rotting fish.
All right, guys. Now, you can catch us as for social media. Please feel free to comment below, subscribe, join the channel, do all that stuff that all us YouTubers say. The other thing is you can catch both me and Jason on TikTok at Jason Roy Gaston and me at VHS_Jace. 2 very different TikToks. One person's actually talented, the other way. And this guy's just putting on clips of movies and cartoons. So check them out.
But they're very enjoyable, though.
They're very enjoyable for both reasons. So I'll play the clips, and then Jason will give you an intelligent synopsis of things going on. Mind you, the Battle Cat TikTok, I've got to mention that just before we go.
Yes.
We'd had a discussion privately about Battle Cat and his importance. I'm not going to spoil it, but go to Jason Roy Gaston and watch his TikTok about Battle Cat.
Yes.
It'll change your perception on that character forever.
Yes. I have 2 on Battle Cat, and one's disturbing, the other one's kind of uplifting, so I don't know.
All right, guys, go check them out, and we'll see you next week.
On the power of J Skull.